The sacred moon pool reflected 1,000 stars, but Lirelei couldn't see their beauty through her tears. Around the ancient stone circle, the entire Shadowmere pack had gathered. For what should have been a celebration, the Alpha King had found his fated mate. Instead, the air thrummed with uncomfortable silence as King Theron Blackstorm stood rigid with barely controlled fury, his silver eyes burning with disgust as he looked at her. "The moon goddess mocks me," Theron's voice carried across the water, each word sharp as winter ice. 28 years I've waited for my true mate. 28 years of leading alone, fighting our enemies without a queen by my side. He turned to address the crowd, deliberately giving Lirelei his back. "And what does fate grant me? A broken Omega who cannot even speak." Lirelei's fingers moved frantically in the air sign language her younger brother Kieran had taught her, but no one was watching her hands. They were all staring at their king as he paced like a caged beast. "Sire." Elder Morwen stepped forward, her ancient voice careful. "The mate bond is sacred. Perhaps there's a reason." "Reason?" Theron whirled on her. "What reason could there be for cursing me with a defective mate? Look at her." He gestured sharply at Lirelei. "Scarred, mute, weak. The Bloodfang pack is already questioning my strength. What will they say when they learn my destined queen is worthless?" A sharp gasp from the crowd cut him off. Lirelei had stepped into the moon pool, the sacred waters soaking her ceremonial dress. Her hands moved desperately, signing words none could read. "Please, let me show you. I'm not what you think. Get her out of there," Theron commanded. "She defiles the sacred waters." 2 warriors moved toward her, but Lirelei was already walking deeper. In the center of the pool, where moonlight concentrated into a silver column, she knelt and placed her palms on the water's surface. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the pool began to glow not with silver light, but with soft golden radiance that pulsed like a heartbeat. The warriors stumbled backward as the light spread, and where it touched the bank, withered grass burst into bloom. "Witchcraft," someone whispered. Theron's eyes shifted to burning amber, his wolf rising. "Seize her." But Lirelei was already moving, pulling herself from the pool and running toward the healing quarters, where wounded from yesterday's rogue attack lay dying. "Stop her," Theron roared, his alpha command hitting her like a physical blow. Lirelei's knees buckled, but she crawled forward, blood running from her nose as she fought the command. She reached the healing quarters door just as Theron's hand closed on her shoulder. Inside, a child's scream pierced the night. The healer's daughter, Rosalie, only 6 years old, had been savaged by rogues and was dying from poison. Lirelei's eyes met Theron's, and for the first time since the ceremony began, she smiled. Then she pressed her glowing palm against the door, and her power exploded outward. The screaming stopped. Theron released her, stepping back in shock. Through the window, they could see Rosalie sitting up, color returning to her cheeks, the black veins of poison fading from her skin. "Day 1 of 9 begins," Elder Morwen whispered behind them, her voice carrying ancient knowledge. "The prophecy clock has started. Day 2. The prophecy Elder Morwen had mentioned haunted Lirelei as dawn broke on the 2nd day since her rejection. She now lived in the abandoned groundskeeper's cottage at Shadowmere's edge, far from the grand pack house where she should have resided as Luna Queen. Each morning, she watched patrols pass her window, never stopping, never acknowledging her existence. The mate bond burned in her chest like swallowed silver, a constant ache that grew worse each hour. Her brother Kieran visited at dawn, sneaking food and supplies. "The ancient texts speak clearly," he told her. 9 days from rejection to redemption, or the bond breaks forever. We're on day 2 now. But Lirale had more pressing concerns than prophecies. The Omega District's children were dying. Tonight, she pulled her dark cloak tighter and slipped through forest paths she'd memorized. Her destination was the lower district, where Omega families lived in cramped quarters, forgotten by their Alpha King. She knocked softly 3 taps. Pause. 2 taps. Jessamine opened immediately. Blessed moon, you came. She ushered Lirale inside where sickness hung thick. 3 more children since yesterday. 14 pups lay fevered on makeshift pallets. The wasting sickness had started 2 weeks ago, striking only the youngest. The pack healer claimed it would run its course, but Lirale could smell death creeping closer. She knelt beside the nearest child, a boy named Tam, whose breathing rattled. Pulling back her hood, she placed her hands on his burning forehead. Golden light flowed from her core through her palms. She'd been practicing, pushing her limits each night, though something felt different lately, as if her power was evolving, responding to the mate bond's presence. The boy's breathing smoothed. Color returned. How? Jessamine whispered. The healer said nothing could be done. Lirale moved to the next child. She wanted to sign the truth that the pack healer only treated those who could pay, but Jessamine couldn't read her signs. Footsteps outside made everyone freeze. The door burst open. Beta Commander Draven entered with 3 guards, his scarred face sweeping the room. What's happening here? Please, Beta. Jessamine stepped forward. The children are sick. She's helping. The rejected mate? Draven's voice sharpened. The witch? Lirale stood slowly, keeping her movements non-threatening. Her hands began to sign, but she felt something new, a tingling in her throat, as if her destroyed vocal cords were trying to regenerate. The sensation was connected to the mate bond somehow, growing stronger when she thought of Theron. She's cursing them. A guard growled. Beta Draven. Tam piped up from his pallet. She made the hurt stop. She's not bad. Draven stared at Lirale for a long moment. His own nephew had died from wasting sickness 3 summers past. How many has she healed? All she's touched, Jessamine said boldly. The ones she hasn't reached yet. She gestured to 5 still fevered. Finish, Draven said quietly. Quickly! Lirale moved to the remaining children, her power flowing despite her exhaustion. The last child, a tiny girl named Sage, was barely breathing. Lirale poured everything into the healing, golden light blazing bright. When Sage's eyes fluttered open, Lirale collapsed. Is she dead? A guard asked. Draven checked her pulse. No, but she's burning up. He lifted her carefully. Take her to the pack house. To the healing wing. The Alpha King is at the northern border until tomorrow. Draven's jaw set. Move. As they carried her out, Kieran emerged from the shadows where he'd been watching. Day 2 ends, he murmured, following them. 7 days remain. Meanwhile, deep beneath Shadowmere territory, something ancient stirred in its prison. The golden light of a purifier had touched the earth for the first time in generations. In caverns forgotten by modern wolves, symbols carved by the founding pack began to glow with warning. The buried god, imprisoned for exactly 1,000 years, felt the seals beginning to crack. Soon, it whispered into the darkness. Soon. Day 3. Lirale woke to arguing voices and sharp medicinal scents. Her body ached terribly, but she was alive and surprisingly in the pack house's healing wing. Completely unacceptable. Head healer Garrett's voice cracked with indignation. That creature contaminates my healing sanctum. 14 Omega children would be dead without her. Draven rumbled back. Those children's deaths were the will of nature. The weak are meant to. A crash interrupted him. Lirale opened her eyes to see Draven holding Garrett against the wall. Finish that sentence, the Beta growled. The Alpha King agrees with me. Garrett wheezed. The natural order must be preserved. The weak what? The temperature dropped as Theron entered, still in traveling cloak, dust coating his dark hair. His silver eyes swept the room, Draven releasing Garrett, and then Lirelei. Their eyes met, and the mate bond roared to life. She felt his exhaustion, his anger, his confusion. He'd felt her collapse through the bond, had ridden through the night to return. "My king," Garrett began. "This witch was brought here against protocol. Healing," Draven interrupted. "She's been healing dying children you refused to treat." Theron's expression didn't change, but Lirelei felt rage spike through the bond. "Is this true?" "They couldn't pay," Garrett said defensively. "Resources are limited. Get out." Theron's eyes flashed amber. "Before I tear your throat out." Garrett fled. Theron approached her bed slowly. She tried to sit up but couldn't. Days of starvation she'd given her food to the families, combined with magical exhaustion, had left her desperately weak. "You've been busy," he said quietly. Lirelei's hands moved to sign, but that tingling in her throat returned. Stronger now. The mate bond was doing something to her, slowly regenerating what had been destroyed. She touched her neck, confused. "Draven, find someone who can translate her signs." As Draven left, Theron pulled a chair close. They sat in tense silence, the bond humming between them. "I can feel you dying," he said suddenly. "You're starving yourself." "Why?" She met his eyes, letting him see the truth. He'd humiliated her, called her worthless. Did he really think she'd come begging? Draven returned with Kieran. The boy took one look at his sister and snarled at the Alpha King. "Kier, no," Lirelei signed frantically. "She says stop," Kieran translated coldly. "You can read her signs?" "I taught them to her after rogues cut out her tongue 5 years ago. She saved 30 people that night, warning our village. The rogues made sure she could never warn anyone again. They knew what she was, a purifier. They'd been hired to stop her before she manifested fully." Theron's eyes went full amber, his wolf incisors extending slightly, a sign of his beast responding to rage. "Who hired them?" "We never found out, but whoever it was knew our family's secret." Before Theron could respond, a guard burst in. "Alpha, the northern border Bloodfang pack is attacking with some kind of weapon. Our warriors are falling, poisoned." A roar echoed across packlands, not wolf, but something else. Something that shouldn't exist. "What was that?" Draven demanded. "They have creatures," the guard stammered. "Corrupted things." Through the window, black smoke rose from the northern forest. But beneath the smoke, Lirelei sensed something deeper, an ancient malevolence stirring, the same presence that had been pressing against her dreams lately. Lirelei grabbed Theron's wrist, her touch sending electricity through them both. She signed frantically. "She knows what it is," Kieran translated. "Dark magic poison. But there's more," she says. "Our grandmother wrote of this. The buried god, the thing our ancestors imprisoned beneath Shadowmere exactly 1,000 years ago. The corruption is its influence seeping out. Someone's trying to free it." "How many warriors can you save?" Theron asked her directly. She held up 10 fingers, then closed them into fists. 10, maybe more." Kieran's voice broke. "But it might kill her. She's too weak." "There's something else," Kieran added reluctantly. "Our grandmother wrote that when a purifier manifests fully, they can cleanse corruption itself, not just poison or sickness, but the very essence of evil. That's why they were hunted to extinction." Theron stared at his rejected mate, starved, exhausted, yet still willing to sacrifice everything. "Do it." He offered his wrist. "Save my pack." As her teeth, surprisingly sharp, with elongated canines that marked her as something more than purely human, pierced his skin. Theron felt something shift. Her power, ancient and pure, mixed with his alpha strength, but beneath it, he felt her life force flickering dangerously. Golden light exploded from Lyralei's hands as she rose from the bed, stumbling toward the door. "She's going to the battlefield," Kieran said in horror. "She's going to burn herself out to save them all." Day 4. The northern battlefield reeked of corruption. Lyralei stood at the makeshift healing station, legs trembling as another wave of poisoned fighters was carried in. "That's 23 healed," Kieran whispered beside her, translating her signs for the warriors. "You said 10 maximum." Lyralei's hands moved. "They keep coming." The twisted creatures Bloodfang Pack had unleashed were abominations. Wolves corrupted by dark magic until they bled acid and spread poison with every bite. Every warrior who faced them fell within minutes, veins turning black. "Another wave!" someone shouted. Theron thundered into the station, carrying 2 warriors. His body bore dozens of wounds, but alpha healing kept him standing. Their eyes met, and she felt his desperation. "How many more?" he asked hoarsely. She held up 3 fingers, then 1 maybe. "Not enough. There are 40 more poisoned." Lyralei moved toward him, placing her hand over his heart. Through the touch, she pushed a single thought through the bond, the first time she'd managed telepathic communication. "Trust me." She walked past the healing station, straight toward the battlefield, where corrupted beasts still raged. Warriors screamed for her to stop. She dropped to her knees in the mud, placing both palms flat on the corrupted earth. She reached deeper than ever before, to something ancient in her bloodline. Her grandmother's writings had hinted at this. She wasn't just a healer. She was a purifier, capable of cleansing corruption itself. Golden light exploded from her in a wave that swept the battlefield. Where it touched the corrupted beasts, they writhed as dark magic burned away. Poisoned warriors gasped as black veins receded. The ground itself began to heal, but the effort was killing her. Theron felt it through the bond, her life force hemorrhaging with every second. He ran toward her, but an invisible barrier of pure energy kept him back. "Stop!" he commanded. "I order you." She turned her head, meeting his eyes with peaceful acceptance. She signed, "This is my purpose." A figure emerged from smoke. Valerian Bloodfang, the rival Alpha, his scarred face twisted with fury. "Impossible," he snarled. "The witch who sold me the poison swore nothing could counter it." "Witch?" Draven demanded. Valerian laughed bitterly. "Someone wanted Shadowmere to fall. Paid me in dark magic. Said to attack when your alpha was weakest, when his mate bond was rejected." They knew about the prophecy, knew about the 9 days. Through her fading consciousness, Lyralei heard the words. With tremendous effort, she signed to Kieran, inside. "Traitor! She says there's a traitor in Shadowmere?" Kieran shouted. A crossbow bolt whistled past Kieran's head, missing by inches as he dove aside. Head healer Garrett stepped from the shadows, reloading his crossbow. "Couldn't let you reveal everything." His genteel mask had dropped. "Years of watching lesser wolves get promoted while I, brilliant as I am, was relegated to healing duties. You poisoned our own people," Theron growled, bones cracking toward his wolf form. "I poisoned the weak. Natural selection." Garrett aimed at Lyralei. "The witch from the northern wastes, Morgeth, promised me Shadowmere when you fell. She knew about the buried god, knew how to wake it. But this silent bitch ruined everything." He fired, but Lyralei was faster. The last of her purification power shot toward him in a concentrated beam. Where it struck, Garrett simply ceased. Not even ash remained, but the effort broke her completely. Lirelei collapsed as Kieran caught her, barely breathing. "Get her to the healing chamber," Theron roared. As warriors scrambled to obey, Valerian laughed darkly. "She's dying, Theron. The mate bond is fading. You rejected her, and now she's given everything for people who despised her. The witch Morgeth was right, pride always destroys kings." Theron's wolf erupted, massive and midnight black. The rival alpha barely shifted in time before Theron's fangs found his throat. The battle ended quickly. Theron's rage was absolute, but even in victory, he felt Lirelei slipping away. He shifted back and ran to the healing chamber, where she lay, surrounded by frantic healers. "She gave too much," one said. "Her life force is nearly depleted." "Give her mine," Theron said immediately. "It doesn't work that way. She's a purifier. The power comes from within. She has to choose to live." Theron knelt beside her, taking her cold hand. "Please, choose us." Her eyes fluttered open briefly. Her fingers moved weakly. 5 days left. "What?" Kieran leaned closer. "She's saying 5 days left." Elder Morwen, who had just arrived, gasped. "The prophecy. Today is day 4. 5 days remain for redemption. Tell me everything about this prophecy," Theron commanded. 9 days from rejection to redemption. Days 1 through 6 are hers to prove her worth despite rejection. Days 7 through 9 are yours to prove yourself through humility, truth, and surrender. If you fail, Morwen's voice trailed off. "She dies," Theron finished, "and the mate bond breaks forever." Day 5. Theron hadn't left Lirelei's side. His pack was rebuilding, but their Alpha King maintained his vigil, pouring his life force through their bond to keep her anchored. "The pack needs you," Elder Morwen said gently. "They need their Luna to live," Theron replied, eyes never leaving Lirelei's pale face. "She's not officially." Theron's growl shook the walls, silencing her. A knock interrupted them. Draven entered with a woman in traveling robes bearing symbols of the Northern Oracle. "Seer Ravenna," Morwen gasped, bowing. "We didn't summon. The spirits sent me," Ravenna interrupted, her milk-white eyes seeing despite their blindness. 3 nights ago, a purifier's light bloomed across the land. I came immediately. You know what she is?" Theron stood, hope flickering. "I know what she was meant to be." Ravenna approached the bed, hands hovering over Lirelei. "Oh, child, the weight you carry." She turned to Theron. "Do you know the prophecy's full text?" "Tell me everything." Ravenna pulled out an ancient scroll. A queen born without voice would save a kingdom through sacrifice. 9 days from rejection to redemption. The Alpha must prove worth through 3 trials. Humility on day 7, truth on day 8, surrender on day 9. What about days 5 and 6? Preparation and revelation. Today, day 5, you prepare your heart. Tomorrow, day 6, a revelation comes. Ravenna moved to the window. "But there's more. Your land holds an ancient secret. Do you know what lies beneath Shadowmere?" "Nothing. It's been our territory for 1,000 years. Exactly 1,000 years. When your ancestors founded Shadowmere, they built it as a prison. The buried god, a creature of pure corruption, was sealed here. The prison weakens with each passing century. That's why corruption could manifest. The attack was meant to break the seals further. Someone wants it free. That someone is coming." Ravenna's blind eyes seemed to pierce through him. "Morgeth, the Northern Witch. She'll arrive on day 8, but not as enemy. She holds a piece of your mate's puzzle." "What puzzle?" "Lirelei's grandmother made a bargain with Morgeth, saved her family in exchange for their silence. But the bargain had a hidden clause. When the Silent Queen claims her king, the bargain ends and her true voice returns." Theron looked at Liralay's still form. But I rejected her, and now you must unrejected her. Completely, publicly, honestly. Ravenna moved toward the door. Look outside. See what your mate does even while dying. Theron looked and gasped. The entire territory was blooming flowers through snow, trees bearing fruit. The pack members moved with unusual vitality. She's using her last life force to heal your land, Ravenna said softly. Even rejected, she loves your people enough to give them everything. Before Theron could respond, Lirale convulsed. Her back arched, and when her mouth opened, silver-white light poured out moonfire, not golden healing light. She's separating from her body, Ravenna warned. No, Theron grabbed Liralay's shoulders. Don't leave me. Not now. Her eyes opened, unfocused. Her fingers moved weakly, tired. I know, but please, give me the remaining days. Let me prove myself worthy. She studied his face, then signed. Why? Because I was blind. Because when I saw you healing those children, when I felt your sacrifice, I realized what I'd thrown away. Because I fell completely in love with you. A single tear slipped down her cheek. She signed. 4 more days. The bargain is struck, Ravenna announced. But know this, your father comes tomorrow. Day 6 brings family revelations that will change everything. Day 6. Dawn brought Theron's father, retired Alpha King Aldrich Blackstorm, traveling from his mountain retreat. Father, Theron acknowledged carefully. They hadn't spoken in 5 years, not since Aldrich stepped down in disgust at his son's growing pride. Son, Aldrich approached Liralay's bed. I came when I felt the purifier's light. I knew only one bloodline could produce such power. He studied her face. She has Mira's eyes. Liralay's fingers moved weakly. You knew my grandmother? Mira, the Silent, saved my life. When I was a pup, most powerful healer in 3 generations, she could purify wolfsbane with a touch. Never spoke a word, but her hands said everything. Why didn't you tell me about purifiers? Theron demanded. Because they were hunted to extinction. I thought the bloodline died with Mira. I never imagined. Aldrich touched Liralay's hand gently. Child, your grandmother loved my father. They couldn't mate different packs. Ancient laws. But she saved him anyway when poison took him. Saved him and disappeared, pregnant with another man's child. We searched for years. Liralay's eyes widened. Her fingers moved. She wrote of a lost love, a king she couldn't have. And now her granddaughter is mated to mine, Aldrich said softly. The moon goddess has a sense of poetry. He turned to Theron. Tomorrow begins your trials. Be ready. As night fell, Liralay's signs grew urgent. Tomorrow. Important. Be brave. Theron squeezed her hand. Whatever comes, we'll face it together. Outside, deep beneath the earth, the buried god felt the seals weakening further. Soon, it whispered. Very soon. Day 7, Theron carried Liralay to the great hall at dawn. The entire pack had assembled at his command, watching in stunned silence as their Alpha King walked through their ranks carrying the rejected mate. 6 days ago, Theron's voice carried across the hall. I stood before you and rejected this woman, called her weak, worthless, defective. His voice cracked. I was wrong. He dressed her in Luna ceremonial robes. Even unconscious, she looked regal. This woman saved all our lives. While I scorned her, she healed our children in secret. While I called her worthless, she gave her food to starving families. While I named her weak, she faced corrupted beasts and purified them. He placed Liralay gently upon the Luna throne, then knelt before his entire pack. I kneel before my queen, he declared. Silent or speaking, whole or scarred, she is more royal than I'll ever be. The rejection ritual must be reversed, Elder Morwen said. "Bring the moonstone," Theron commanded. The sacred relic arrived, a crystal pulsing with inner light. Theron cut his palm, letting blood drip onto the stone. "I offer my pride, my position, my life, but most importantly, my truth." He faced his pack with complete vulnerability. "I rejected her because she reflected my greatest fear, that I'm not strong enough. Every scar on her body represents someone she saved. Her missing voice proves her courage. She's everything I pretended to be." The moonstone glowed brighter, its light flowing toward Lirelei. As it touched her, something extraordinary happened. Her hands moved, and for the first time, golden words appeared in the air above her fingers, visible to all. "You knelt. For my queen. Always. The Alpha King doesn't kneel. This one does. And I'll kneel every day if it means keeping you with me." The golden words flickered. First trial passed. 2 remain. Day 8 dawn brought the visitor Ravenna had warned about. Morgoth, the northern witch, swept into the throne room where Lirelei sat, weak but conscious, with Theron beside her. "Silent queen," Morgoth said, her face both young and ancient. "I've come to collect a debt." "We owe you nothing," Theron snarled. "Not you. Her bloodline." Morgoth pulled out an ancient scroll. "Her grandmother made a bargain, the family's silence for their survival. I saved her grandmother and unborn child when they were dying. The price was the voice of every female descendant." Lirelei stood on shaking legs, her golden words appearing. "My grandmother's bargains aren't mine, aren't they? But there's more, a hidden clause." Morgoth's expression shifted from hard to almost kind. "When the silent queen claims her king truly claims him, the bargain ends. Your grandmother knew the prophecy. She knew what you'd become. She wanted to protect you until you were strong enough. What do you truly want?" Theron demanded. "Her blood. 3 drops. With it, I can trace who's trying to free the buried god. Someone stole my magic to awaken it. I want them found." Lirelei extended her hand without hesitation. As her blood touched Morgoth's palm, the witch gasped. "The corruption's source. It's here, deep beneath Shadowmere, and it's about to break free." The ground trembled. Cracks appeared in the stone floor, black substance seeping through. The black substance began taking shape, a massive creature of shadow with too many eyes and mouths. "The buried god," Aldrich said, having arrived with other alphas to witness the trials. "Our ancestors' prison has failed." The creature focused on Lirelei. "Silent one, purifier. You should have stayed hidden." Lirelei's response was to step forward, golden light beginning to emanate from her skin. Her signs were firm. "You've been trapped for 1,000 years. That should have taught you humility. I am eternal. I know no humility." "Then learn," Theron said, stepping beside Lirelei. He faced the creature without flinching. "You want to know truth? Here it is. You're not a god. You're a parasite, feeding on negative emotions. Without hatred and division to sustain you, you're nothing." The creature lunged, but Theron didn't move. "I speak truth in front of my pack. My father, my mate. I was wrong. I created the very divisions you feed on, but no more." His absolute honesty, his complete lack of pretense, seemed to burn the creature. It recoiled, shrieking. Second trial passed. Lirelei's golden words announced. 1 remains. The buried god retreated into its cracks, wounded but not destroyed. "Tomorrow," it hissed. "Tomorrow I break free completely." Day 9. The full moon rose at dawn, an impossibility that had every wolf on edge. The moon goddess herself was making her presence known. Lirelei stood at the moon pool where everything began, Theron beside her, the assembled pack, visiting alphas, and even Morgoth watched as the ground began to crack. The buried god was rising. "Today I break free. the creature roared, its massive form emerging fully. Today, Shadowmere falls. Today, Theron said calmly. I surrender. Everyone gasped, including the creature. I surrender my pride, my need for control, my fear of weakness. He turned to Lirelei. Most importantly, I surrender to love, to my mate, to my queen. He knelt and bared his throat. Claim me. Complete our bond. Make me yours as I tried to make you mine. Lirelei's elongated canines, the mark of her purifier heritage, found his throat. The moment she bit, the mate bond didn't just complete, it exploded into existence with nuclear force. Through it, Theron's strength flowed into Lirelei, while her purifying power flowed into him. They stood together, moving in perfect synchronization. When she raised her hand, he mirrored it. They were no longer two beings but one force. And then, for the first time in 5 years, Lirelei's true voice emerged not from her throat, but from the very air around them, as if the world itself spoke through her. Love isn't broken by words, it's forged by choice, strengthened by sacrifice, proven by surrender. The buried god actually stepped back. Impossible. The bond was rejected. Nothing is impossible when you surrender to truth. Lirelei's voice rang clear. You could have surrendered too, could have chosen redemption over revenge. But you held on to hatred for 1,000 years. She and Theron moved as one, their combined power blazing like a sun. Where the light touched the creature, it didn't just burn, it purified, breaking down corruption into base elements. This isn't over. The creature shrieked as it dissolved. I am eternal. No, Lirelei said with finality. You were ego, and ego dies when faced with selfless love. The creature gave one final wail before disappearing completely. The cracks sealed themselves, the air clearing. In the silence that followed, Lirelei collapsed against Theron, who caught her automatically. You spoke, he whispered in wonder. She smiled, touching his throat where her mark was already healing into a silver crescent. The bargain is complete. My grandmother's debt is paid. My voice is freed. Morgoth approached, looking younger and cleaner. The corruption in me, it's gone. Your purification destroyed it when you destroyed the buried god. She knelt. I owe you everything. No debts, Lirelei said firmly, her voice growing stronger. We're free of the past, all of us. The visiting alphas began pledging their support, not from fear but from witnessing something unprecedented: love, conquering ancient evil. Alpha Marcus stepped forward. Your vision for the pack's equality, healing for all Stormridge pledges to follow it, as does Ironwood, Alpha Cordelia added. One by one, every pack committed to change. That evening, at the moon pool, the pack gathered for the official mating ceremony. But first, Lirelei had something to say. For 5 years, I had no voice, but silence taught me to listen. I heard the Omega children crying. I heard the poor begging for help. I heard what wasn't being said. She looked at each pack member. Now I have a voice, and I'll use it for those who still don't. Shadowmere will be a sanctuary for all wolves. Theron took her hands. 9 days ago, I listed your supposed flaws. Now let me list the truth. You are brave beyond measure, compassionate beyond reason, clever beyond belief, beautiful beyond description. You are mine, and I am yours. As they kissed, the mate bond exploded with light visible for miles. But this time, the light didn't just shine, it spread, touching every wolf present, healing old wounds, mending broken spirits. You changed the prophecy, Ravenna announced in wonder. It wasn't just about redemption, it was about transformation. Of a man, a woman, a pack, a world. Young Kieran approached his sister. You did it. You saved everyone. No, Lirelei said, pulling him close. We saved each other. The moon finally set normally, but Shadowmere would never be the same. They had witnessed death of ego and birth of love, the end of silence and beginning of truth. Days later, as life settled into new rhythms, Lirelei stood with Theron overlooking their territory. No regrets? He asked. None, she said, her voice still a miracle to him. Everything happened as it needed to. The rejection, the pain, the trials, they transformed us. You transformed us, he corrected. Love transformed us, she said. And love will keep transforming us, every day, for the rest of our lives. From the forest's edge, Morgoth watched with satisfaction. Well played, Mira, she whispered to the wind. Your granddaughter exceeded even prophecy. The wind carried what sounded like laughter, proud, free, and eternal.